So guys, what's up? What if Naruto x Penemue x Grayfia x Harem Movie 1? Akeno Himejima, queen and best friend of Rias Gremory, blinked as she saw the new and the first male student of her school walking down the dark streets of Kuo with a backpack on his back. The directors of Kuo Academy had decided to turn the school co-ed, but it was going to come in effect from next year, yet this boy submitted his documents along with other girls at the start of the new classes, and somehow, miraculously, the academy's administration accepted him, thus making him the first ever male student in the history of Kuo Academy. Many teachers brought this up with the principal, but she told them it was the decision of the directors and she sees no harm in allowing a boy to study in the institution. Akeno chose to follow the mysterious and happy-go-lucky blonde and see for herself what was he doing at this time all alone. She had nothing else to do after completing her contract for the night. The boy walked into a restaurant nearby and ordered a lot of food to be packed. She followed him inside and ordered a cup of coffee for her. In the meantime, she was left speechless at the amount of food he had ordered. How he was going to pay for all this food? He was supposed to be a poor orphan who got lucky and get a scholarship in her school, right? Is he that hungry? Don't tell me he's thinking to grab the food and run out without paying for it, the young hybrid thought in her mind. Her theory was proved wrong when he took out his wallet and in fact paid for all the food. She raised a brow at how well and casually the manager was treating him. It looked like as if he knows the blonde well, and by the looks the staff was giving him, it seems that he was a regular customer there. The blonde placed the food securely in the bag on his back and left after saying his goodbye to the people working there. She followed him again after he left the place with food, but this time he decided to run instead to walk, and despite her being a devil she was having difficulty keeping up with him. After a while, she stopped and summoned her wings with a scowl on her face. Is he really normal? I have never seen a human running so fast, she said inside her head and took off after him. After 10 minutes they reached the area where poor people, thugs and even some prostitutes of the town lived in. What was he doing here? A boy like him should not be in a place like this, she saw as he walked down in the crowd before vanishing from her sight. The beautiful raven-haired girl let out a groan. It just had to happen right now. She shook her head and decided to search for her new classmate. By the time she found him, his bag was empty and he was sitting with some small children with their parents beside them. She could even see some women there who looked proper prostitutes in the small crowd around him. This time he had a black mask covering half of his face from the people. You are such a generous boy. Why don't you come with me? I can think of a few ways to repay you for your generosity. Akeno's eyes snapped towards one of the women. She was old enough to know the hidden meaning behind her words. She looked back at the blonde who was staring at the woman blankly. Stop this, Kyoko-san, or I will not share anything with you from now on, he said in his monotone voice. At least he doesn't think with his penis, Akeno muttered from her position in the air. I am going now. I will say once again, stop all this bad work and do something good, she heard him say. Ha ha ha, keep trying, Naruto, and maybe you will succeed in changing us for real. A man, obviously a thug from the way he dressed, said with a grin. Naruto didn't say anything in response. Instead, he began to walk away when he suddenly stopped and looked directly at her. Akeno gasped as his bright blue locked with her violet ones. He stared at her for a moment before shaking his head and continue his walk. It should be impossible for him to see her from down there. Maybe it was not her and something else he was looking at, she reasoned with herself. A month later, Akeno giggled slightly at the sight of Naruto trying to find a place to eat his lunch in peace. He was clearly trying to avoid the girls after him, but so far he was failing miserably. She had been observing Uzumaki Naruto for the past month whenever she found some free time. She was relieved when the blonde acted normally and showed no sign of nervousness or fear around her. She was afraid that she would have to use magic to erase his memories if he had seen her that night. Akeno, what's the matter with you? You seem very interested in Uzumaki-san. Akeno laughed a bit at her best friend and king. He's a unique boy, Rias, the queen said mysteriously. Rias raised a brow but said nothing. He was maybe unique but nothing special. He got no sacred gear inside him and even his magical reserves were pathetic, even for a human. Naruto-san. She heard Akeno shout. Akeno continued when Naruto looked at her. You can sit with us if you like, we won't bother you, she said with a smile. Naruto contemplated her offer for some time. On one hand, he wanted to get all those girls off of his back, but on the other he really didn't want to go there and sit with his stalker. Not to forget he had seen her with those wings. Yep, he knows that the girl had been observing him for the past month. Accept it, Naruto. Maybe we will find something more about this world from them. Kurama's deep voice echoed in his mind. Naruto nodded his head and walked up to the duo of devils. Thank you, Himejima-san, he said and looked at Rias as he didn't know her name. You don't know who I am? The crimson-haired girl asked. No, He replied with a raised brow. Was he supposed to know the name of everyone here? Rias Gremory, nice to meet you, Uzumaki-san, the redhead said with a bow. Likewise, Gremory-san, he said and sat opposite to them. Naruto eats his lunch in silence as Rias and Akeno sweet-talk his chasers to leave him alone for now. They all left without a word as if in some kind of trance. It's like genjutsu, the mighty fox muttered from inside him. Yeah, so it seems. Everyone in our class believes you are broken financially, you know? Akeno commented after he finished his lunch. I told everyone during the introduction that I am an orphan, but the others made up this whole financially broken and poor guy thing. I never said that, he replied calmly. Akeno nodded her head. True, the other students deliberately made up this story about him and she too believed them. So why did you apply for admission in Kuo Academy knowing it's an all-girls school? Rias decided to ask the one question she could think of. Naruto flushed slightly and mumbled something under his breath. What was that? Rias questioned, not being able to hear him the first time. I didn't know that fact until later. Kuo Academy is the closest school to my house and that was the only reason I decided to submit my forms here. The two devils' sweat dropped at him. Really? The heiress asked. Naruto nodded his head with a sheepish grin on his face. Yeah. I recently moved to this town and the son of my landlord happens to be in the police. He told me to get myself in some school as soon as possible or I would find myself in trouble, he replied with his fox-like grin. And you didn't even check before applying for admission here? Akeno was the one to question this time. Nope. Naruto replied as he jumped to his feet. Anyway, thanks for saving me from those girls. I should get going now. Bye Naruto-san, Akeno said brightly while Rias just gave him a short wave. Bye. See you later, he gave them his famous grin and left silently. Shosuke household Oshiro Shosuke, an old man with white hair and a small goatee giggled as he read the notes of the brat that recently moved into his house, who knew the blonde was just a closet pervert like him. Especially after he gave him a long lecture about modesty for checking out the lady police officer his idiot son had brought home last week, hiding a treasure like this from a free spirit like him. Unforgivable. If Uzumaki boy agreed to give him more of these notes he will be opted to give him some big favors. Like concession in the rent, free meals and even some advice on wooing the young girls. He was not called the playboy in his young days for nothing. This is a masterpiece, he giggled once again, turning the page as he continued to read the content. I am home. The lock of the front door clicked open and he heard the Uzumaki brat announcing his return from the school. Naruto raised a brow seeing the usual eccentric and loud old man sitting in his chair with his back towards him. What are you doing, old man? I hope nothing perverted. Black eyes turned and glared at him for interrupting his fun. What if I am, brat? Oshiro snapped with a snarl. Go to your room and take a shower, will you? You smell horrible. Are you sure it's not coming from you? You were the one lying on the roof in your boxers today morning muttering about how good the sunlight feels on your skin, Naruto said with a scowl as he left the room. Keep dreaming, boy. Oshiro shot back. Oshiro watched him go before rolling the paper in his hands and securing it into his robes. Uzumaki Naruto, you started this war but I will be the one to end it, he said and quickly made a dash to his room. Later Shikita Shosuke looked between his old man and their new tenant. Oshiro was smirking at the blonde who in return was glaring murderously at the aged citizen. Every now and then the blonde would shift uncomfortably in his seat. What's the matter, Naruto? You don't look well to me, the officer asked politely. The youngling didn't know with whom he was messing with, so I, in my infinite wisdom, decided to teach him a lesson. Oshiro decided to butt in before Naruto could open his mouth. The Jinchuriki growled at the annoying man. He put itching powder in my towel and boxers. A tick mark appeared on his head when the younger Shosuke joined his father in laughing at his predicament. Well, sorry, Naruto, but my idiotic old man loves to prank others, Shikita said, still chuckling. Well, it's really amusing to see someone pranking you for once, Naruto-kun. Just you wait, Mata-chan. I will have my revenge soon, Naruto responded with a dark glint in his eyes. Oshiro noticed it too and immediately recognized him as a fellow prankster who was planning for revenge. He clicked his tongue. You were on, brat, he thought with a challenging glare aimed at the former shinobi. The rest of the dinner went well with the junior Shosuke inquiring Naruto about his school and such. Oshiro teased the blonde about being a horny monster for choosing a previously all-girl school. He remembered not to utter a single word about his notes. He would not be parted with his precious treasure, but first, he had to convince Uzumaki for giving him more of those notes of his. After washing the dishes, the three of them retired to their rooms. Shikita told the other two that he would be spending THR night outside on duty. Oshiro nodded his head and was the first to leave. He had something to finish after all. Naruto followed his suit after telling the man to take care. XX Uzumaki. The former Hokage smirked and locked his door. No one pranks him and gets away with it. He was not called the prankster king from hell back home for nothing. Walking over to his bed, he picked up his headphones and put them on. Night everyone, he said to the mighty beasts inside him and closed his eyes. It was a good thing that Shikita wasn't at home for the night. He smiled evilly, ignoring an angry Oshiro with orange hair and pink goatee banging his door. One day later, Naruto whistled as he continued to walk around the town aimlessly. A clone was doing his homework for him back home. Old man Oshiro was really mad when he finally came down for breakfast this morning. For a moment he thought he was really furious, but that thought was trashed by the old pervert's next words. He screamed, quite dramatically, how he was going to charm those hot milfs in the park now. He tried to tackle him to the ground. Oshiro wanted to unleash his manly fury on him, according to the old man, but he simply sidestepped at the last second and watched with cruel satisfaction as the former white-haired man slammed into the wall, quite harshly if he says so. Safe to say Oshiro passed out after that. The Jinchuriki made sure to heal the little scratch he got and put him back into his bed before leaving for school. That brings his attention to the other matter, school. Getting average scores in every subject there was easy for him, and he even got to join the gardening club. He always liked plants and even had some in his old run-down apartment in Konoha as a child. Going to the Kuo Academy was a good way for him to pass time, especially now that he had nothing to do on his hands. All of his friends in Konoha and Elemental Nations has already passed on to the next life, so no point in going back there. So yeah, watching those children banter and gossiping among each other is fun. He stopped when his blue eyes noticed a couple walking by him. The man had his right arm wrapped around the woman and she was leaning into him with her head on his shoulder. He smiled, seeing the happy smiles on their faces as they walked past him. Hinata. His smile turned sad as he sent a silent prayer for the departed soul. He dated Hinata for some time after the war, but once Toneri revealed what Kagaya actually did to him, he stopped. It was very hard for him to end things between them, and he had to do it slowly, or otherwise she would have sensed something wrong in there. He received a lot of harsh words and hate from his friends for turning her down and hurting her feelings, but not a word escaped his lips in retort. He deserved that much. His life went on like that until Momoshiki and Kinshiki approached the Elemental Nations in search of Kagaya's scattered chakra. Unfortunately for them, Naruto had been waiting for them and used the opportunity to fake his own and watch over the world from the shadows. Only Sasuke, Tsunade and Toad Clan knew that he was alive and well after the gruesome battle between him and the two Otsutsukis. He lived with the Toads on the Mount Myobokuzen for decades, sharpening and polishing his skills. He had nothing else to do. His powers and skills evolved during the years spent there. The 7th Hokage guarded the hard-won peace from the shadows and took care of the people and organizations who threatened it from time to time. He even went after the Otsutsuki clan after Sasuke's, and that decision led him here after a particularly cheap shot from the dying Arashiki. The man threw him in an unstable portal in hopes of killing him, but that portal reversed the effect of time on his body, and by the time he reached here he was back to his 14-year self. Even though he missed the Toad clan and his homeworld, he had decided upon his arrival that he would live the rest of his eternal life here. It was better this way. Toneri had told him that the clan of celestial beings left the shinobi world alone after he took all the tailed beasts and vanished from the face of Elemental Nations to hunt them down. Beside the rebellion he started within the clan would surely one day win, with the main members of loyalists gone, courtesy of him. He took solace in the thought that his world was safe. There are some people in the woods, Kurama said with a yawn. Ho? Let's see what are they doing there, shall we? Naruto commented before he vanished in a flash of orange. Random Street, we are late because of you, Rias. You could have watched your anime later, Akeno said with annoyance, making said girl pout. You know how much I like Gundam. I just couldn't resist watching the new episode, the redhead replied. Akeno shook her head at that. Rias and her obsession with mangas and anime. What was our mission again, bucko? A blonde kid with a mole under his left eye asked quietly. The Gremory heiress smiled. Kiba Yuto, her new and first knight. She found the boy injured in the woods a couple of months ago and offered him a place in her peerage. He accepted and she turned him into her knight, knowing it will be best peace for him due to his sacred gear, sword rebirth. We are going to take care of a group of stray devils that ran away from their master, she replied, and noticed Kaniko's body froze for a moment. No doubt she was thinking about Kuroka. Kiba-yu and Kaniko will be the ones handling the strays, me and Akeno will only jump in if necessary, she informed them. Understood. Rias bucko, Kiba replied. All right, the Nekosho muttered quietly. Rias and Akeno deadpanned at the small girl's respond. She rarely talks more than a few words in one sentence. They could understand why she was like that, but at least she should speak a little more with them. Bucko, what is that? Everyone looked at a wide-eyed Kiba pointing towards the sky in a distance. They followed the direction in which he was pointing in and couldn't help but gawk at what they were seeing. What the hell? Rias shouted. A giant fire dragon made of brilliant blue flames roared loudly in the air before diving towards the ground. Boom. Rias, Akeno snapped her out of the shock. Follow me. Two jet black bat-like wings came out of her back before she took to the skies. Akeno and the others too summoned their wings and took off after her. When they arrived at the designated area, Akeno quickly erected a barrier to keep the humans out of this. They found the ground below was shattered to rubbles and their intended targets were lying on top of it, unconscious. All the devils had second-degree burns on their bodies and some cuts here and there, definitely caused by something sharp. It seems someone did our mission for us, Akeno muttered dryly, no doubt feeling angry that her chance to have some fun was ruined by someone. Bound them together and call someone to collect them, Rias said. The others, especially her overprotective brother, will definitely want to know what happened here. What is she going to tell him now? What should I tell the guards? Akeno questioned. Tell them it was me, Rias responded and continued quickly, seeing Akeno opening her mouth in protest. I don't want to leave Kuo just because someone dangerous is lurking here. I am sure we can handle whoever it is. Shosuke household guys, any help? Naruto asked the giant entities of chakra inside him as he rocked the small girl in his arms. He was currently sitting in his room. The silent seal was active so that no sound escaped the walls. He really didn't want to explain where he found this child to Shikita or worse Oshiro. Found her parents' brat, but you don't know how to contact these fallen angels, do you? Son Goku said. Naruto smirked and turned his head to the shivering devil lying in the corner of his room with Shukaku's cursed seals covering his body. Oh, we can arrange that easily, son. The man shuddered as he watched the brat's eyes turn purple before his mind went blank. So Grigori, huh? Let's see what it looks like, Naruto said as his eyes turned back to normal blue. Open the portal for us, he commanded the devil, still under his control. The man nodded as a large brown magic circle flared to life beneath them. Naruto raised a brow at the glowing runes but said nothing. A shadow clone popped into existence beside him and gave him a salute. I am going to see this underworld. You'll take care of the things here while I am gone, and no bunking school, Naruto told him, getting a pout from his clone before vanishing in a bright light. That idiot is going to get himself in trouble once again, Kurama muttered, getting a nod from the clone. Underworld. Borders of Grigori Shukaku's shield, Naruto yelled and slammed his foot on the ground. Sand burst out of the ground around him and formed a giant statue made which looked like a tanuki. Many spears made of light struck it, but the statue easily blocked them. My turn, the sage said loudly before he disappeared in an orange flash, and the next second all the fallen angel guards were lying on the ground, groaning in pain. Naruto appeared behind the injured group and looked at the woman near the gates with a cold look before once again a flash of orange engulfed his body. Blood, crush them, Shukaku yelled insanely inside his head. Naruto and others' sweat dropped and ignored the slightly insane Baiju. Penemue, a beautiful woman in her early 20s with long flowing purple hair and seductive purple eyes, rolled to the side to avoid her head being crushed by the unknown boy. She stared at the blonde with narrowed eyes. With how easily and swiftly he defeated all her subordinates and countered her attacks, he was easily equal to ultimate class devils in strength. The only reason she wasn't going all out against him was the baby in his arms. She could sense the twisted holy energy coming from the baby, but she also had dark spiritual energy of those devils. I will say once again, hand over that child to me and surrender yourself, she said in a demanding tone. Once again. Naruto scowled. Your men attacked me as soon as they saw me, lady. I told them to stop, but as you can see they did not listen. Penemue scoffed. Well, they don't see a brat. A tick mark appeared on his head at that, strolling inside our territory with a devil who looked possessed by his side every day. First of all, Naruto started in a very calm voice. I am not a brat. He yelled loudly, making the girl in his arms cry. A sweat drop rolled down the side of her head seeing the blonde fussing over the baby now. It was as if he wasn't even paying any attention to her. Now's my chance. She charged at him at high speeds but soon found herself on the ground, with a foot on her neck keeping her down. It's not nice, you know. I am trying to be reasonable but you are making it difficult. So fast, she didn't even saw him move. After a moment she pushed him back and summoned a large bow of purple holy energy. She saw him frown before golden and orange energy burst out of his body, forcing her to her knees. It was like a whole ocean was placed on her being. Despite the situation, the strong fallen angel could not help herself but get incredibly aroused at the feel of this incredible power. How embarrassing. She would be laughing stock of Azazel and others if they ever find out about this. Reacting to a boy, not an adult by even human standards, damn her fallen angel instincts. I am only here to reunite this child with her parents. Either help me or just stay out of my way. She heard his cold voice and shivered once again. She was having difficulty breathing. Help you. With that, the force pushing her down vanished. Ha ha. How do you even know her parents are here? I can sense her devil blood. They could be in the devil underworld or human world. Naruto pointed to the devil under his control, ignoring the amount of hate he sensed from her when she mentioned about the devils, and spoke. I found his group in the human world with the baby. According to him, she is the daughter of some big shot here. Impossible. Azazel would never stoop as low as to impregnate a devil, and my fellow generals also despise them, she said with a glare. Look, take me to this Azazel person and see what he has to say about it, Naruto said, getting really annoyed for some reason. And if her parents really aren't here, then what shall you do? Adopt her. I won't allow her to live a life of an orphan, he answered calmly as he smiled at the girl in his arms. Come with me, you can't be serious, Penemue-sama, a fallen angel groaned from the ground. Penemue ignored him and summoned a magic circle under her feet as the group of a fallen angel, devil and human with a baby vanished from the area. Azazel's office, we are sorry for hiding it from you. Pen, we wanted to tell you but you hate devils and despise their existence, so Azazel stopped us from informing you. Penemue glared at her friend and fellow general, hiding something like this from her. And on top of it, even Kokabiel, a warmonger, knows about this. He was worthy of knowing about the marriage between a fallen angel and a devil, but she wasn't. She knew the moment she appeared with the boy in Azazel's office that the blonde brat was telling the truth from Azazel's expression. Everything became clear as water once Shemazai with a devil woman barged into the office and took the baby from Blonde's arms. I thought we were friends, Shemazai, but it's clear that you don't see me as one, she spat venomously. Shemazai opened his mouth to explain himself, but she was already barging out of the office. Give her some time, Shemazai, she will eventually come around, Azazel said as his eyes turned to the blonde. Now Mr. Uzumaki, right? At his nod, the man continued, can you tell us what are you and where did you find little Elsa? I am human and I found her in the forest with a group of devils, Naruto stated in a blank tone. A human? Really? Sorry, but I don't think you have a sacred gear and no simple human can make Penemue kneel with just flexing his aura. Azazel narrowed his eyes at him. I never said anything about me being normal. Naruto smirked and stood up from his chair. My reason for coming here is done, goodbye. He turned to leave when the mother of the child stepped in front of him and bowed. Thank you for saving my daughter, we are in your debt, she said gratefully with Shemazai nodding his head. Don't bow to me and you are welcome. I shall leave now, the once Hokage of Konoha said before he jumped out of the window. That child acts a lot mature for his age, also he is hiding a lot of things, Azazel commented as he watched him vanish into the skies. Yes, but what are we going to do about this devil? A muscular man with black hair and matching beard asked. Interrogate him for information, the leader replied. Also tell Penemue to keep an eye on Uzumaki, he sure is an interesting boy. If Penemue deems he's not a threat, then you will leave him alone, okay? Shemazai, you. Azazel stopped at the serious look his friend was giving him. Okay, he muttered half-heartedly, now stop giving me that look, you bastard, he whined. Shemazai shook his head at his antics before he took his daughter from his wife and left the office. 6 months later, the wonders of the internet, Oshiro said with a goofy smile. Naruto, who was preparing breakfast in the kitchen, turned and threw the egg in his hands towards the pervert. He should at least put his headphones on so he won't have to hear the sounds of the adult movie he was watching. Oshiro turned his head and catch the egg easily. Nice try, Uzumaki, he commented with a smirk, infuriating the blonde. Why don't you come here and get some tips from an expert like me? No thank you, old man. I don't need girls to make a mess of my messy life even more, Naruto shot back. Oshiro quickly stopped the video and looked at him with a horrified expression as if he just saw an alien. Are you okay? The last Uzumaki asked with confusion. Uzumaki. Don't ever bring a boy in this house, you hear me? Now I understand why you never brought a girl home and never showed any interest in the opposite. He stopped and pointed a finger at him accusingly. Don't say that, old ma, you are a gay, he shouted, and this earned him a frying pan to his head. He's right, you know. How many years has it been since you last spent some time with a woman? Kurama asked teasingly. 56 years, Naruto replied quickly. I don't need anyone in my life anymore. You are wrong, my friend. I know what you truly desire, the mighty beast thought inside his head. An old man was lying in his bed with a group of raven-haired men and women surrounding him. The man had one black eye, but his left one was something that made him a legend in the shinobi world. A glowing purple eye with concentric rings spread all throughout the eyeball. Itachi, I want to be alone right now, a 96-years-old Uchiha Sasuke spoke in a weak tone. As you wish, grandfather, the man in his late 50s said before ushering the others to leave the room. The legendary shinobi stayed silent for a moment before speaking. So it seems my time has come, Dobi. The former Hokage walked out of the shadows and gave a smile to his friend, or at least he tried to. I sensed your life force flickering earlier, so I came to visit, the Uzumaki said. I know I don't have much time left. What will you do once I am gone, Dobi? The now gray-haired man asked with a low chuckle which soon turned into a coughing fit. Take it easy, old man, the blonde teased, cough. Answer me, cough. The Uchiha said with his trademark scowl. I will soon be leaving to counter the threat of Otsutsuki clan. I broke the seal on Toneri last night, Naruto informed with a frown. Then are you finally going to accept my gift? Sasuke asked with hope in his eyes. Let me heal you, Sasuke, you can spend some more time with your family, the blonde argued. The Rinnegan wielder shook his head. He could see Naruto was trying to avoid the conversation. Also, the desperation in his friend's voice was not lost to him. The last Uzumaki was not ready to let him leave this world. He was the last of their generation beside him. The shadow of Hokage could see that as well. He too didn't want to leave his only friend alone, but there wasn't much he could do to ease his suffering. If only he was not caught in Kagaya's attack at the last moment. Naruto won't have to suffer like this. He still cursed himself for letting his guard down back then. The blonde, unknowingly, sacrificed his happiness for his sake and never asked for anything in return except his friendship. Give me your left hand, Naruto. No, I won't accept it. You will die if you do that, the host of tailed beasts refused stubbornly. Sasuke scoffed, still as stubborn as ever. Just accept it, Naruto. You can prolong my life using your powers, but I am hating this feeling of powerlessness. My body is not as strong as it was used to be, please. I want to be with Sakura. Naruto flinched and Uchiha knew that it was a cheap shot from him. Even the mention of someone from their past hurts the Jinchuriki deeply. I want to help you with your upcoming journey. Please accept my gift, Naruto. Naruto remained silent, his cold blue eyes staring into Sasuke's black and purple. The two continued to stare at each other for what seemed like hours before the sage spoke. Say hi to all of them and tell Hinata I am sorry. Sasuke smiled at him before he raised his right arm towards him. He gave a nod to Naruto before the blonde grabbed it with his left hand. A surge of power spread throughout his body as Hagoromo's potent yin chakra melded with its yang counterpart inside him. His already insane chakra levels began to expand even more. Dense and powerful chakra stretched his coils to their maximum limit as his body tried to adapt to the new powers it received. He also felt the knowledge of new techniques he didn't know before rushed into his brain. From now on my powers are yours to use as you please, and all the knowledge I gathered over the years is at your disposal, Sasuke said with a weak smile as his Rinnegan eye turned black. With this, you have surpassed Old Man Sage, my friend, Kurama muttered proudly as he watched the set of Rinnegan with 6 tomo in each eye spinning slowly. Naruto's eyes pulsed with an untold amount of power before returning back to normal blue. Goodbye, my friend, I will be always with you, the Uchiha said with a smile before life vanished from his eyes. Naruto closed his eyes to hide his tears and closed Sasuke's black eyes with his hand. Present time. Kuo Naruto deactivated his purple Rinnegan and watched his reflection in the mirror. Sharp blue eyes with slits, black sclerae, spiky blonde hair, more pronounced whisker marks, black curse markings covering the right side of his body and hard and compact muscles covering every inch of his chiseled frame. This world is worse than the shinobi world used to be, Kurama spoke. Yeah, it is, especially, those devils, they think their little system will continue to work like that, not noticing that it is bound to collapse one day, commented Naruto as he put on his uniform. The evil peace system, it had many loopholes that the high-class devils can use to their advantage. Those devils he met in the forest months ago, not all of them were evil. There were many who became strays due to the deeds of their masters, kings of their peerage. There was no department set up to hear their side of the story. Once they desert their king, they would be branded as strays, criminals to be hunted down. Even those who are turned against their will have no choice but to follow those arrogant bastards. Showering ranks on individuals based on their blood and family, pathetic, he thought inside his mind. Elemental nations have a better system in his opinion. Everyone has to work hard and then approved by the council to be promoted, it doesn't matter if you are from a noble clan or not. Pervert. The blonde heard a loud scream of a woman in the street and smacked his head. Quickly putting a henge on to look like his normal self, he ran downstairs and out of the house. What he found there made him both satisfied and sorry. Oshiro was lying on the ground with a lewd smile and a red handprint on both cheeks with two middle-aged women who were beating the shit out of his old bones. What happened, Naruto? Shikita came out with a slice in his mouth. The usual, Naruto replied in a blank voice and pointed towards Oshiro. Not again. Shikita facepalmed himself. When would his old man learn to control his urges? XXOW. Oshiro yelped as Naruto placed the ice bag on his swollen eye. Watch it, brat, it hurts, he complained. You should have thought this before groping those women, old man, Shikita said in an annoyed tone. Don't force the people here to file a complaint against you in the police station. You know that UAL harassment is a serious charge. Oh please, I have enough contacts to get me out of trouble, Oshiro replied with a shrug. Besides, feeling their milky breasts was worth the beating, he added with glazed over eyes and blood leaking from his nose. Both Naruto and Shikita's sweat dropped at his antics. They should have expected this kind of a reply from a pervert like him. Pervy Sage would be proud of you, Oshiro, the shinobi thought inside his mind. You are going to get yourself killed by the hands of some angry husband one of these days, Naruto commented. I am a black belt, Uzumaki. I will like to see them try, Oshiro grinned. XX Kuo Academy. I am not sensing that crow today. Finally, she decided to leave us alone, Kurama commented, sounding pleased for some reason. Can't be sure about that. I should have sent a hanged clone with the child. Now we have got people watching our every move, Naruto sighed as he flipped the page of the book he was reading. Yeah, what happened to try and stay under wraps as much as possible? Gayuki chimed in lazily. Oh well, I think I got a little carried away. All the tailed beasts deadpanned at him inside the seal. Son Goku scoffed. A little, Naruto. You bitch slapped those devils, not to forget that giant fire dragon you used and how you made that lady general kneel by just flexing your aura, he finished with a smirk. The four-tailed monkey always loves it when Naruto exerts his authority over others like that. What he wanted to say is that you have given them enough reasons to be wary of you, Naruto-sama, Kakuo explained in a respectful tone. A strong person like Naruto deserves to be respected. Yeah, I guess so, the Uzumaki said with a mental nod. He was currently sitting in the dark corner of the canteen to avoid the parents and other students. It was class observation day today at Kuo Academy. Seeing he had record 100% attendance till now, he could afford to skip the classes for a day. He heard the sound of someone barging into the library and looked up from his book to find a flushing Rias standing at the entrance. Closing the book, he took a sip from his coffee. It isn't nice to run away from your brother and parents. Putting the coffee back on the table, he propped his legs on the vacant seat beside him and smirked at the crimson-haired devil. Rias turned even more red at his words. Save me from him, please, he's acting so childish, it's embarrassing, she said, making him chuckle. She didn't tell him that Searsex wanted her to dress like a bunny so he could take her pictures like he had when she was a little girl. The blonde pointed to the door behind him. It was the storeroom where the supplies for the canteen were kept. Hide there. I will inform you when they are gone, but you owe me for this. Rias didn't think and quickly rushed to the dark storeroom, but not before handing him the piece of paper in her hands. It's the next assignment, she said, and rushed into the room, missing the mischievous glint in his eyes. A few minutes after she went inside the storeroom, Searsex found his way to the canteen, but unfortunately, there was no clue of Rias there. The blonde prankster had already sealed the room so no one can sense the Gremory heiress inside there, not even someone as powerful as Searsex. Excuse me, young man, the Lucifer begins, prompting Naruto to look at him. Have you seen an adorable and cute girl with crimson hair around here? Naruto inwardly smirked. Oh, you mean Rias Gremory, right? He asked, getting an excited nod from the Satan. Yes, have you seen her? I am her elder brother. The super devil looked at him with hope in his eyes. Naruto nodded his head. Yeah, she said she's going to the kendo club right now. She wants to introduce you to some of her friends, admirers. Searsex pouted, but I don't know where this kendo club is, he whined. To-san. Naruto's eyes slowly turned towards another crimson hair child who looked to be around 6, walking into the room with a beautiful silver-haired maid behind him. Naruto was mesmerized by her beauty for a second before he shook his head and turned his attention back to Searsex. Searsex-sama, stop running around the school. You are one of the directors here, so act like one, he heard her say and saw the man pout even more. Milikas, do you want to search for your aunt with me? I want to too, San, but I am hungry, the child replied. Okay. Grayfia dear, why don't you bring some snacks for Milikas while I look after him? The woman nodded her head and left to order some snacks. Ah. Anko-san, why don't you lead Mr. Sirzex to the kendo club? Rias-san is waiting for him. Sirzex looked at the new girl that just walked into the canteen. Of course, Sirzex-san is one of the directors here, I will be glad to help him, the purple-haired girl said in a bubbly tone. But what about Milikas? I am supposed to look after him for the time being. Naruto gave him a polite smile. If you want I can look after him until his caretaker comes back, I have nothing else to do. His voice was as sweet as honey. Sirzex seemed conflicted. You don't want to make your precious sister wait, do you? That did it. Urging Milikas towards him, he ran out of the room, dragging Anko with him. My name is Milikas Gremory, nice to meet you, the boy introduced himself with a bow. Naruto smiled. Well, Milikas, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, nice to meet you as well, he said and patted the chair near him for him to sit down. Well, tell me Milikas, do you like to prank people? The shinobi asked with a glint in his eyes. Mother told me it isn't good to make fun of people, the young Gremory replied politely. Well, she must have also told you it's good to help people, the little boy nodded his head. Then would you like to help me with a certain project? Naruto chuckled as he eagerly nodded his head, with Sirzex. Here we are Sirzex-san, Anko said pointing towards the door. Thank you, Anko-san, for helping me, the girl waved at him dismissively and said. Now go, Rias is waiting for you, she said. Sirzex grinned brightly. Yeah, you were right, he opened the door and jumped in with a goofy smile on his face. Here I am, Ria-chan. Anko smirked and locked the door with an evil smile. Work done, boss, the clone thought before its body vanished into a poof of smoke after it made sure that it was alone. Inside the room, Sirzex swallowed a lump in his throat as he watched a group of girls in the middle of changing their clothes. Huh? I think I mistakenly came to the wrong room, he said with a nervous smile. You pervert. We shall crack your nuts for peeping on us, one of the girls said and grabbed her kendo stick. Sirzex let out a girly scream and made a dash for the door only to find it locked. He turned around to see all the girls surrounding him with evil red eyes and kendo sticks in their hands. Any last words? One of them asked sweetly. Pardon? Sirzex said before all hell broke loose. With Rias frowned as she waited for Naruto to give her the green signal. The room she was in was completely dark with no light. Well, it wasn't a problem, she could always use her magic to lit up the room. With that in mind, she summoned a ball of her famed power of destruction in her hands and smiled. Her smile quickly vanished as the small ball started to shake before flickering out of existence. What happened? She mumbled quietly and tried to summon her magic once again but found herself unable to do so. I can't access my magic, she thought. He. Your time has come, Gremory, a deep voice echoed throughout the dark room. Rias shivered at the deep dark voice and looked here and there to find the source of it. Who's there? Show yourself, she demanded. Oh ho, courageous too. Rias gulped and took a step back as glowing blood-red eyes appeared near the door. What are you? She asked with a shaky voice. The voice laughed before a tall skeletal man in black robes stepped forward with a scythe in his hands, his eyes glowing menacingly. I am your, he yelled and raised a hand towards her. Rias felt a tug at her body before she let out a loud scream as she was propelled towards the skeletal giant. Og. She closed her eyes and never saw the giant vanish as the door opened to reveal a smirking Naruto and Milikas there. Kurama shook his head and let out a chuckle. Naruto and his pranks. 10 minutes later, Grayfia Lucifage, head maid Gremory and queen of Sirzex Lucifer, raised a delicate brow as she watched her young master Milikas along with the blonde boy from earlier laughing heartily. For some reason, she frowned seeing no sign of her master and king, Sirzex, anywhere near. He was supposed to watch over Milikas while she was gone. Now you know how much fun there is in pranking people, Naruto said with a grin. Yeah, it was really funny, Mr. Naruto. How did you do all that stuff? Milikas asked excitedly. Magic Mill, and just call me Naruto, he said and ruffled his hair. Well, looks like your caretaker has returned with your snacks. It's my cue to leave now. Bye, Mill. Don't be a stranger, okay? Come and visit me. He abruptly stood up from his chair and began to walk away. Bye, Naruto. I will, Milikas shouted after him. Thank you for looking after Milikas, Grayfia said in her monotone voice with a bow. Ah, it was nothing besides I enjoyed his company, Naruto said with a smile as he walked out of the canteen. Grayfia would not know until much later, but Naruto had awakened the hidden prankster inside Milikas that day. Later, Mount Fuji. Naruto was watching the clouds as the full moon illuminated them with its white light. It was something he picked up in his days as Hokage from his friend and advisor, Shikamaru. He had to admit it was really relaxing and put his mind at ease. Today was eventful in his eyes. He had fun pranking the Gremory girl and messing with one of the current Satans. He grinned, remembering the shocked looks of everyone seeing the sorry state of Searzex. The man was not injured beside the few scratches here and there. Those human girls were just not strong enough to hurt him. He was not a Satan for nothing. The reason for his amusement was Searzek's torn and tattered dressing. The devil still thinks he had no hand in the whole event that took place in the changing room of the Kendo Club. Instead, he tried to find Anko, a person who never existed in this world, to begin with. Well, good luck with finding her, the blonde snickered. Raising his hand, he watched on as small atoms of pitch-black chakra began to mix before a single truth-seeking ball formed above his palm. Naruto eyed the ball, which was an essential part of the most powerful technique in his arsenal. After the war, he thought he had lost these little balls of pure destruction, but thanks to Kagaya or her curse he acquired them once again, though he had to practice a lot to recreate new of them with ease. He eyed the ball for some time before he brought it near his face and willed it to form a circular shield. Not a second later, many spears made of light slammed into it. The black shield neutralized the attacks. Lowering it just a little, Naruto gazed at the group of fallen angels hovering above him. Uzumaki Naruto. One of them landed on the ground. You are to come with us, surrender peacefully and there won't be any need for violence, he said with his eyes narrowed. Just kill these pests and be done with it, Shukaku said in an unusually calm voice, but he could feel the bloodlust oozing from the tanuki. Naruto smirked. And where you want me to go with you? Also, don't you think that you should have made this offer before attacking me? The apparent leader shook his head and summoned another spear. Our mission is just to capture you. It doesn't matter if you are injured or not as long as it isn't anything fatal, he said and charged at him. Naruto scoffed. He could heal from the wounds that would prove fatal to others. If killing him would be that easy, then he would have been long dead by now. The shield once again changed shape and this time transformed into a staff with several black rings hanging from the top of it. Naruto parried his spear before he hit the man once in the ribs with his shakuho before quickly slamming his right foot into his face with enough force to send him flying back. The man collided with many trees on his way before coming to a halt. It seems the rumors were true after all. You are powerful for a human, he said before 4 more wings came out of his back. Now prepare yourself, boy. He wiped the blood leaking from his lips and charged at him again. And here goes his piece. Naruto sighed before he moved his body to the side and watched as the spear went past him. The fallen angel turned and swiftly slammed the spear in his right shoulder, impaling him with his weapon. The fallen smirked, but it didn't remain on his face for long as there was a poof of smoke and in place of Naruto was a wooden log. You are too slow to land a hit on me, Naruto commented in a matter-of-fact tone, hanging upside down from a tree branch nearby. You don't mock us. The leader let out a snarl and motioned for others to jump into the fray. Oh well, I tried to warn you, mumbled the blonde as he jumped into the air and used his shakuho to smack one of them into the ground, hard. The others watched as their comrade was slammed into a boulder like a rocket, which was blown to pieces upon impact. His body went limp as he laid in a small crater. 2 others charged at Naruto, who gave them a lazy look before he vanished in a burst of speed and appeared behind the 2 shocked men. Both felt the blood came gushing out of the deep cuts on their back. You bastard. Naruto moved his head to the side and avoided being impaled by the spear and grabbed his latest assailant's hand in a tight grip. Crunch! The soldier screamed out in pain as he tried to free his hand from the blonde brat who was crushing it under his tight grip. What in the world? The 6-winged man muttered in horror as he watched how the brat took out his subordinates in just an instant. Naruto shook his head and closed his eyes. Who sent you? I am sure it wasn't that woman or that Azazel person, he asked quietly. He never sensed negative emotions from the purple-haired woman, so it was unlikely that she would send anyone after him. Koka, you fool, don't tell him anything. The leader yelled at the fallen and propelled himself towards them. Naruto sighed. I am done playing with you guys, he said with coldness leaking into his voice. Pulling his hand back, he grabbed the man from the collar and twirled him towards the incoming man who failed to dodge the spinning body of his underling. They both hit the ground hard, but the leader was quick to his feet again. Now he never got to finish his sentence as Naruto was suddenly an inch away from him. He didn't even have the time to react as the blonde grabbed his head with his free hand and slammed it into the tree to his right, causing cracks to appear on the wood. As I said, I am done playing with you, he heard Naruto's cold voice before darkness engulfed his vision. Naruto turned and looked above in the sky. How long do you intend to watch from up there? Who are you? He asked the silver-haired boy with white wings levitating in the air. Valley Lucifer. I am here to fight you. The boy looked to be around his age, replied with a smirk. Why everyone wants to disturb my peace today? Naruto thought with a sigh. Be gone. You don't interest me, Naruto said only to dodge a beam of energy. His eyes switched from the crater that formed due to the attack to the silver-haired boy flying towards him. His eyes turned yellow with the horizontal bar as pupils, like that of a toad as orange markings appeared around his eyes. He entered his Toad Sage mode. You will regret messing with me, was all Naruto said before launching himself at the boy, shattering the ground under his feet. 1 week later, the full moon shone over the silent and empty streets of Berlin. Most of the city was asleep after the long day. Voice of the metal clash against metal and loud painful screams could be heard in a dark alley. Out of some people still out on the streets, no one dared to enter the alley due to fear. If anyone would enter, they would find a silver-haired teenager with a green right arm punching a thug to oblivion, his hands covered in blood, and a group of men on the ground around him, groaning in pain. This boy was none other than Valley, the grandson of Rizavam Levon Lucifer and host of Albion. That's enough, Valley, you will kill them at this rate, a stern voice said. Azazel walked out of the shadows clad in a dark suit. He noticed the arm of his student and someone he sees as a son. It was not human. It resembles that of a frog. The descendant of his once fellow angel and brother glared at him. Azazel. He growled and lunged at him. Before he could reach him though, a bolt of lightning struck his body, sending him skidding back. The half-devil was easily knocked out with the attack without the help of Albion. He's becoming unstable, Azazel. You should keep him in check, Barakiel said in a gruff tone. Azazel looked to the side as his friend landed on the ground beside him. Tell me that he agreed, Barakiel, said man shook his head. Uzumaki told me and Penemue that he won't reverse whatever he did to Valley until Kokabiel is punished for sending his pets after him or until he formally apologizes to him. Azazel sighed at his words. I warned Valley that his hunger to fight strong opponents would bite him in the ass one day, Azazel replied. Even I don't know what that boy did to him and his sacred gear. Barakiel gave Valley a disgusted look. So what are we going to do now? Transport Valley to the prison. He will be kept there until we find a way to solve all this, Azazel replied with a frown. With Naruto you are not going to change your mind, are you? The purple-haired beauty gave the blonde a glare. Naruto slurped the noodles in his bowl in one go, making the woman disgusted at his table manners. Just so you know, I want pay for all this ramen, okay? Naruto scoffed and stuck out his tongue. Penemue rolled her eyes as he returned to being his idiotic and goofy self. How quickly does this boy seem to change his whole demeanor as above her. The duo of fallen angel and shinobi were sitting in a fancy-looking hotel in eastern London right now. If not for the fact that she was the owner of this hotel, he would have been thrown outside for his abysmal table manners. Naruto slowly finished his ramen before he ordered more of it. You really do care for that brat, don't you? She raised her eyebrow at that. What are you implying? She asked. Simple, you do care for that Valley. I can see it in your eyes. Despite claiming that all the devils are trash, you do care for him as a comrade, he clarified. Penemue snorted. Don't talk nonsense here. I don't care for him. I am only here because Azazel ordered me to, she told Naruto. You are lying. Behind that hard woman exterior of yours is a kind and caring woman, Naruto stated bluntly. Whatever makes you happy, boy, she said. Now is there any other way to solve this peacefully? Naruto smiled. It won't makes you weak if you care for your comrades, you know, quite the contrary, it makes you stronger than ever. A friend once told me that a person can only become stronger when he has something to protect with all his heart. Penemue looked at him as if he had grown a second head. And you are telling me this because? Tell Azazel that I will come tomorrow and take care of his little brat's problem, but I won't forgive him if he attack me next time. Also Kokabiel is apologizing to me, it's non-negotiable, he informed her and get up. Now you are agreeing with me just like that. I can't figure you out, Uzumaki, she said exasperatedly. Who I am to deny my beautiful stalker. See you later. He vanished in an orange flash. Penemue scowled at him, but her cheeks turned slightly pink at his comment. She knows he was just teasing her, but... Ma'am, a waitress, another fallen angel in disguise, approached her table. What? She asked annoyed. Your guest used teleportation in front of normal humans and he left without paying for his food, she replied with a strained smile, and Penemue turned to see almost every other person in the hall looking her way. Damn you, Uzumaki! She screamed and used her magic to erase their memory of the particular event. From the top of a building nearby, Naruto chuckled before vanishing into thin air. Kuo. Naruto's room. Naruto appeared back in his room in a flash of orange and jumped into his bed. Folding his hands behind his head, he stared at the ceiling with a bored gaze. Kurama still thinks that he should let the battle-hungry maniac suffer some more, but doing that will only anger Azazel. He didn't want to make Valley suffer, but his arrogance was grating his nerves. He deliberately fed him his natural energy and a little bit of tailed beast chakra inside him, as he predicted his body failed to keep it in check. Thus the whole dilemma of his right arm transforming into that of a toad. He had also sealed his sacred gear with a seal of his own creation. It was based on 5-pronged seal, only much more durable and stronger. So the creature inside him won't be able to expel the corrosive chakra of tailed beasts and his natural energy. Now his decision to cure the boy will not only express his sincerity that he truly wants to live in peace, but also it will help him gain some more trust of Azazel and his faction. "Hey, you useless brat. Are you in here?" Naruto sighed at Oshiro's loud voice and get up to open his door. "What is it now, old man?" He trailed off, seeing a man behind him with a very familiar orange book in his hands. "Meet Kenshiro, an old friend of mine and your publisher," Oshiro said with a large grin. "Say what?" It was a beautiful day in Kuo. The sun was just rising over the horizon, basking everything in its golden light. The gentle and cool morning breeze was blowing in the small town, providing refreshment to all the beings that reside there. Birds could be seen flying in the sky searching for food or just chirping away in the trees. A few people could be seen walking around in the town, filling up the empty streets of Kuo ever so slowly. "Ha ha ha, slow down brat. Do you want to kill me?" Oshiro said loudly as he tried to match his pace. "Put on your big boy pants, Gramps, it's not even 5 minutes since we left home," Naruto retorted with a smile. "HMMPH, you just like tormenting this innocent soul," the white-haired man said, flailing his arms in the air. "More like horny and perverted soul," the blonde corrected. Naruto's smirk widened at his scowl as he picked up his speed. Now don't be so harsh on Oshiro-san." Akeno giggled as she joined the duo clad in a pink tracksuit with white stripes. Naruto merely gave his fellow student and class representative a nod in greeting. She beamed at this, but the blonde was not paying her any attention. His focus was on the track ahead of him. "Ignore him, my dear Akeno. You cannot expect everyone to be as kind and gentle as you," Oshiro commented and picked up his speed to catch up to them. Akeno giggled cutely while Naruto rolled his eyes. The old coot won't be saying this if he ever caught a glimpse of the raven-haired girl out on a hunt. Akeno was a big sadist. He remembered how happy she was after cutting hands of a stray devil once a few months ago. "So Naruto-kun, what are you going to do this summer break?" she questioned as she tilted her head to look at him. The Lord Seventh, clad in his orange tracksuit with blue stripes, stared at her from the corner of his eyes and replied, "I don't have any plans for now. Maybe I'll travel around and see for myself what different areas have to offer." The blue-eyed boy shrugged his shoulders. Akeno nodded her head. She would be leaving for Underworld soon. Lord and Lady Gremory had ordered Rias to come home as soon as the summer break starts. She smiled. Both devils loved their daughter dearly. Her smile turned a bit sad as a familiar face of her late mother flashed in her mind. She would have also loved to spend her time with her family if they were still around. "I will go with you, brat, and don't try to argue on this," Oshiro stated in a serious tone, eyeing Akeno's jiggling treasures as discreetly as he could. "I cannot allow you to travel around the world all alone as a responsible adult," he finished with a nod. Naruto scoffed. "Responsible, my foot. I can guarantee that you will have us in jail in no time due to your perverted tendencies." Oshiro opened his mouth to retort, but Naruto was right in a way. "You will take me with you if I promise to behave?" He gave him hopeful eyes. "Nope, not a chance in hell," the sage responded without missing a beat. Akeno giggled at their funny interaction. A mischievous smirk appeared on the elder's face, making Naruto narrow his eyes. The old man was onto something. "Ah. Now I understand it completely. You want to spend some time away from the prying eyes. It seems I have failed to bring you back to the light." Oshiro shook his head with a down look on his face. "Huh? What do you mean by that, Oshiro-san?" Akeno looked at him curiously. The white-haired man looked at the girl with a solemn expression. "I am sorry, Naruto, but I can no longer hide your dark secret." He began making said person roll his eyes. "You see, dear, our Naruto plays for the other team. In short, he's gay." Naruto nearly lost his footing hearing this and let out a growl after regaining his balance. "Surely you are joking, Oshiro-san," the young hybrid said with her trademark smile. The man shook his head. "I am afraid not. Don't you find it suspicious that a young and handsome man like him never hangs out with girls?" "Old man," the blonde began with a dangerous snarl. "Don't say anything, Naruto," Oshiro said with a raised hand and a dramatic look on his face. "I understand that you just can't get your thing up in front of a girl. I was really disappointed at first, but now I can understand your predicament. You have my sympathies." The shinobi scowled again. He was not gay, damn it. His eyes switched from Oshiro to Akeno, who had the same look on her face as the former. I can't believe it, she muttered, making his eyebrow twitch. You know, back at Kuo Academy, there is a group who thinks you are gay. I never believed them, but now it's true, he's gay. Take my word for it, Oshiro butted in. Not you too, Akeno. The blonde glared at the white-haired man, who smirked. It seems girls will not be happy to know that their dear Naruto-senpai is. Stop. Not a word about this, and for your information, I am not gay. Some people walking past them stopped and looked at him as if he was mad. Not so loud, brat. I don't want to make the ladies think I am gay like you, Oshiro hissed with a serious glare. He won't have a brat damaging his hard-earned reputation with the ladies. Like they will even beat an eyelash at you, commented Naruto. At least I am not gunning for those pretty boys like you are, Oshiro retorted and turned towards Akeno. I am a breast man, Uzumaki. You see these orbs of meat? He pointed towards Akeno's chest and tried to cope a feel of one. Before his hand could make a contact though, Akeno kicked him in the nuts. The old citizen clutched his crotch as he writhed in pain on the ground. Oh, I am sorry, Oshiro-san, I reacted on impulse, Akeno said, but he could not see her smiling at his agony. Ah, I am all right, the perverted man stuttered out. Sadist, Naruto muttered, catching her attention. Huh. Did you say something, Naruto? She asked in a sweet voice. No, the Jinchuriki replied. That's what I thought. She gave him a pleased nod. Once Oshiro managed to stand on his feet, the trio left the area. Akeno noticed that they were walking to the edge of the town, the place where those people who Naruto helped lived in. After a minute or two of walking, they were in the same area where Naruto regularly comes once in a week. Her feet came to a halt seeing said boy stop. I will be back sometime around 12 to 1, he told the old man, who nodded his head. Ah, you are leaving already? Akeno said with a pout. I have something to do. Bye, Akeno. I hope you enjoy your break, the blonde said before he walked into an alley to his right. Akeno watched him disappear into the darkness of the alley. She wanted to find what work he had there, but Oshiro won't let her. Come now, Akeno-chan, she heard him say before nodding her head as the duo left. A few days later, a groan escaped the bloody lips of one Valley Lucifer as the half-devil tried to remember how in the hell he ended up in his current situation. The last thing he remembered was his mentor and teacher's angry face. Azazel was furious when he demanded to fight the Uzumaki again. He had never seen the fallen archangel so vicious in their spars before. The perverted leader made sure that he won't be able to stand on his feet after their spar. You are awake. He turned his head to see a still serious Azazel standing in the doorway. So tell me, Valley, does my words manage to get through that thick skull of yours, or do I still need to teach you a lesson? Valley glared at him. I'll abide by your rules and conditions, for now, Azazel, but the day I feel that I am ready to challenge that Uzumaki again, no one will stop me, not even you. The young devil said and tried to get up when ropes made of energy burst from the ground and wrapped around his body tightly. You won't be leaving this room anytime soon, my dear student, Azazel spoke, his usual smugness returning in his tone. Valley growled but said nothing as the first fallen angel left the room. Calm down, Valley. You are in no condition to challenge that blonde boy again. He did something that I haven't seen in all my time inside this sacred gear. Albion, his partner and spirit of the sacred gear, spoke inside his mind. What do you mean? Explain. The white dragon sighed. The Uzumaki is the first person that managed to cut me off from my host. Not only his energy is overwhelming, it also causes pain and bloodlust to whoever absorbs it in spades, the white dragon explained. Valley nodded his head as he remembered how his right arm was turned into that ugly thing. It was true, Uzumaki's energy was dangerous. The battle maniac scowled as he recalled how the blue-eyed boy made fun of him during their little battle. He was toying with me, the silver-haired boy thought angrily. Someone give me a glass of damn water. At his shout, the door slammed open and the fallen with blonde bangs threw balloons filled with water at the silver-haired boy, drenching him in it from head to toe. Azazel, the mentioned man, smirked outside the room and walked away with a jump in his steps, causing a certain silver white-haired man to shake his head at his leader's antics. Kuo Town, the purple-haired fallen angel let out a groan as she found no sign of Naruto in the whole town. Penemue had looked for him almost everywhere in Kuo. In her hands was an old-looking book that Azazel told her to deliver to him. How the blonde boy gets that pervert to give him that was beyond her. Azazel was a pervert, no doubt about that, but he was even a bigger researcher and collector than that. His obsession with sacred gears was second to none in the whole world. And no one ever managed to get their hands on the books in his personal library. There was no way his friend would agree to lend this book to the blonde human just like that. Where is he? She muttered and this time decided to ask his landlord. She reached the house he was staying at and rang the bell hanging near. After a moment she heard the sound of someone grumbling behind the doors. A snort escaped her lips. It must be that perverted white-haired man. The door opened to reveal an annoyed Oshiro. What is it? Canton old, he trailed off seeing the beautiful woman standing there. Penemue wasn't really surprised how quickly his whole demeanor changed after seeing her. She had been working under a pervert for more than 1,000 years now. She watched on as Oshiro's annoyed expression disappeared as if it wasn't there to begin with, and now he was supporting a charming smile. What can I do for you, beautiful? Oshiro asked in a sweet voice. Ignoring the smile he was giving her, she replied, do you know where Uzumaki Naruto is? A scowl appeared on his face hearing the name of his housemate. He left to travel around Japan. He must be waiting for his train at the moment. The man was angry because Naruto did what he said. The blonde made it clear he won't be taking Oshiro with him even after he promised to behave. To make it worse, his own son agreed with the boy. Traitor. That aside, but what does a beautiful lady like her wants with the brat? He thought. Thank you. The fallen angel said and turned to leave when she felt something smashed into her bosom. She looked down to find a brown-haired boy rubbing his cheeks against her chest with tears in his eyes and drool leaking from his mouth. Every now and then he would mutter "Oh pie." A tick mark formed on her head after she noticed the old man giving the boy a thumbs up while trying to take a peek under her skirt. Smack. Thwack. Tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, Penemue left the street with a satisfied yet cruel smirk on her face, leaving behind a boy and an old man lying on the side of the road with big bumps on their heads. It was totally worth it. Oshiro heard the boy mutter and jumped to his feet, fire burning in his eyes. I finally found you, my apprentice. The man grabbed the boy from the collar and started shaking him. What's your name, boy? Oshiro asked sternly. Hyodo Issei, the boy replied awkwardly. Listen and listen well. Hyodo, you've been accepted by Shosuke Oshiro to become the next ultimate pervert. Are you feeling honored? Oshiro asked, his shadow looming over the boy. Yes. Issei replied and found himself being dragged by the strange old man. I am going to teach you the way of the perverts, the white-haired man answered his unasked question. Meanwhile, Penemue reached the station and her eyes quickly noticed a mop of blonde hair in the cafeteria inside the waiting area. She made her way towards him and heard him say, You missed stalking me this much, huh? Stalker-chan. Don't be delusional. She started with a scoff and placed the book on his table. I just came to deliver this to you. Naruto eyed the book in front of him. He had asked Azazel for a book on the history and all the different factions in this world. Kokabiel refused to apologize to him, stating he was a threat and he just acted accordingly, so Naruto asked for information in return for helping Valley. Thank you. Would you like some coffee or tea? Naruto picked up the book and placed it in his bag. Penemue was going to refuse and walk away but stopped when her stomach let out a growl. Naruto chuckled and added, maybe some fries and sandwiches too. The purple-haired woman blushed in embarrassment and cursed herself for skipping the breakfast. Taking the seat opposite to him, she watched silently as Naruto ordered some sandwiches and cold coffee for her. He returned to stare at his finished cup of coffee as if in deep thought. Penemue sat there silently waiting for her coffee to arrive. So where you plan to go now? She asked after a moment. Someone had to break the ice and start a conversation. Naruto didn't look up and replied, I was going to Tokyo, but now I am going to take a look into this book and then decide. This book contains the knowledge and information about different factions in the world. Are you planning to visit and see them for yourself? Penemue asked curiously. No, the blonde denied, I just plan to observe whatever interests me in this book. The fallen angel nodded her head. This book has a spell cast on it so that you can read its content, she informed him. Alright, he muttered and the duo once again fell into silence. Penemue narrowed her eyes. The blonde was exceptionally good at striking a conversation. All her past meetings with him ended up in a headache for her, so it was surprising to see him quiet today. So, no one is going with you? The woman questioned. Naruto finally looked up from the empty cup and shook his head. My perverted landlord wanted to come with me but I refused and I don't have friends here to accompany me, he answered. What about Barakiel's daughter or her king, that Gremory girl? She said with distaste in her voice. We are just mere acquaintances, not friends, besides, they left to spend time with their families, responded the blonde in a calm voice. He also didn't know about Akano being Barakiel's daughter. Penemue scoffed. I am sure that Akano girl would love to spend time with you. Should you ask her? I can tell she likes you. Naruto gave her a devilish smile. I know that. What's there not to like? But I won't step past friendship with her. His words caused her to look at him with a raised brow. Why? You don't find her beautiful or she isn't your type. Naruto closed his eyes and grinned. To be honest, I don't think I am a relationship material. Penemue just raised a brow at his response. What type of girls you like, Uzumaki? Now she was really intrigued to know his answer. The blonde looked at her with a glint in his eyes and spoke. Just like you, my dear stalker, strong, beautiful, humble, caring, and your exotic purple hair are just a bonus, though you would look much better with orange hair. Penemue smirked back. Two can play this game. Oh really? Don't tempt me, Uzumaki. I don't want to torture these humans, and made them hear a virgin's screams for mercy. A grin found its way onto the shinobi's face as he heard that. Raising his hand up, he snapped his fingers and Penemue found all other people in her vision stop where they were. It was like the time itself had stopped around them. Now that problem is solved, so shall we continue? She froze hearing his voice in her ear, whispering huskily into it. A blush appeared on her face as his hot breath grazed her neck. The situation only get worsened when she felt him inhaling her scent. What are you doing? She shouted with a crimson face. Crack! She watched the cracks appeared in her surroundings before the whole area around her shattered like glass, revealing a smirking Naruto sitting in his seat and people going on about their businesses. An illusion? But when? She thought inside her mind. Back to Earth, Stalker-chan, she heard his teasing voice and let out a growl. Uzumaki, that was Naruto, cut her off with a smile. Just a joke, you are too old for my tastes anyways. Women don't like it when their age is mentioned, especially the supernatural ones, she warned with a huff. I just stated the truth, the blonde said with a shrug of his shoulders. How old are you anyway? 2,000? 3,000? 10,000? Haha, very funny, Uzumaki. I would like to see your wrinkly face 40 years from now while I will still retain my youth, she mocked him. Naruto mused inside his mind. He won't age past his prime even 4,000 years from now. Do you mind me asking why you hate the devil so much? She smirked triumphantly, thinking that he got nothing in return to her last retort. Despite all his powers and strength, he was just a human, in the end. A powerful one, yes, but a human nonetheless. She heard his question and replied. What kind of question is that? They are our arch enemies, we fought and killed each other in the Great War, so, of course, I hate them. The blonde Uzumaki looked at her with a serious expression before nodding his head. So you hate them for killing your friends and comrades, understandable. Yeah, it is, she said with a frown, not liking the topic in the least. Do you hate heaven and angels also? His next question was a tricky one. It goes without saying. Naruto gave her a look. You are lying, Miss Penemue. His blunt statement surprised her. What? I am not, she defended herself, but Naruto continued to give her a blank look. Okay. I don't hate them, but I am not a huge fan of them either, she decided to be honest with him. Naruto once again nodded. Then why you hate devils? She opened her mouth to repeat her answer, but he didn't give her a chance. Either you lost someone close to them or there is another reason completely. Penemue clenched her fists. And how did you reach this assumption? Simple. If you hate devils for killing your comrades and friends, then you should hate angels also, but the fact is you don't. Also, if you hate them for fighting you in that useless tussle you people named Great War, then that reason is very shallow and honestly quite pathetic of you, Naruto commented boldly. Penemue took offense to that. Her magic flared for a brief second. It wasn't a useless battle. Many of my friends died and gave their lives in it. She was once again cut off by Naruto. Useless war that Azazel and you people had a choice not to join. From what I know, it was Lucifer who declared war on heaven and you people just jumped into the fray. Penemue was silent. Uzumaki was right. It was Grigori who jumped into the Great War. True, their borders were being under attack, but they could have easily used their strength to better their defenses and refrain themselves from fighting an all-out war against the other two factions. As for the S of your comrades and friends, what did you expect when you went into the war, huh? There was a high chance that many of your people won't return from the battlefield. Devils and angels also lost their kin to you and your people. You are not the only one who suffered, he stated in a calm yet stern voice. It's not the right place for this kind of conversation, she muttered, having no words to say to him. Don't worry. I am not an idiot no matter how much I portray myself as one. I've put an illusion over us, now stop running from my questions. Penemue frowned. She remained silent for some time before speaking. And what a brat like you know about war. You want me to forget about my friends and comrades? Forgive those devils for taking their lives? For hurting me? Naruto could easily sense her anger, but he stayed calm. No, he spoke, not losing his calm. You should always keep them in your heart and remember their sacrifices. I am not saying you should just forgive devils and angels, but try to be neutral in this whole situation. Your comrades and friends did not die for nothing, ya know. Honor their memories. And how you want me to do that? She asked with a scowl. By living your life free of hate and desire for revenge, by living a life they would want you to have, by making sure that no other would go through what you have to every day. The Jinchuriki answered in a soft voice. Vengeance is not an answer. Just say that you killed all those devils and angels who killed your friends. What then? Their friends and family will try to kill you and your people in return. It will just create another cycle of hatred. Good and bad people are on every side. Penemue looked down and remained silent for several minutes. Naruto just sat there calmly, with his eyes closed. At the moment the faces and memories of all her friends that perished in the war flashed through her mind. The happy times they spent together, the laughs they shared, all the happy memories. Why, you sounds like an old man, Uzumaki. I didn't know that you could be serious like this, she tried to joke, wiping a lone tear away. Naruto gave her a genuine smile. Then take this old monk's advice and let go of your hate. It's not worth it, and honestly, I would hate if a beautiful woman like you completely turned into a hateful and revenge-obsessed maniac. He flicked her forehead, sending a little bit of his sage chakra to make her feel better. Warm, she thought, and locked her eyes with his bright blue ones. If you need help, come to me, and this great sage of Mount Myoboku will help you, he said in a joking manner, picked up his bag, gave her a playful wink and slowly walked away. You've given me a lot to think today. I'll consider what you told me, she said simply. Naruto stopped at the entrance and glanced back at her for a moment before eventually leaving the cafe. 1 week later, Kyoto, the former Hokage, found himself sitting in the park, watching children with their parents enjoying the evening. It brought back memories of his own childhood in Leaf Village. He was the village's pariah. Nobody except the third Hokage wanted to acknowledge his existence at that time. Even Kakashi, who was his father's student, never approached him before he passed the exams and became a shinobi of the Leaf. The villagers would throw icy glares at him and whisper all sorts of bad things behind his back. Many shops made it clear he wasn't welcome in there, and those who do often overcharged him for smallest of things. Most of the times, he would be kicked out of the shops with curses, and not one person in the whole village would step up for him. Instead, he would find them smirking at his situation or just plainly ignore him as if he wasn't even present there. It was painful to not have anyone care for you in your life. He was so lonely back then, and that was when he decided to become a prankster. He just wanted the attention of people. He didn't care if it was a good or bad type of attention he was getting. A small chuckle escaped his lips. It was really childish thinking, but he was a child back then, so it was fine. The blonde shinobi closed his eyes and enjoyed the gentle breeze against his face. His reason for being here was to see the yokai living in the area. The fact that these beings could use chakra was enough to gain his attention. HMMPH, Shukaku huffed, there is no one worth my salt here. Naruto smiled. Well, not everyone can match the great spirit of sand, right? Absolutely, brat. Never doubt that ever, Shukaku roared. Naruto could feel the other-tailed beast's boring hole into the back of his head for inflating Shukaku's ego. The tanuki was not going to shut his big mouth anytime soon now. Naruto, you bastard. The blue-eyed teen quickly severed the link between him and the chakra beings. He would let them deal with their cute and lovable sibling. A snicker escaped his lips as he pictured the tailed beasts trying to calm down their eccentric brother. So we finally meet, Uzumaki Naruto, a voice said, and suddenly a short black-haired man was in front of the shinobi, smirking down at him. Naruto gave him a bored look. Who are you now? The young man just smiled at him, his blue eyes closed now. My name is Sao Sao, Wilder of the True Longinus and Protector of Humans. Naruto merely nodded his head at his introduction. Normally, it would be my turn to introduce myself now, but you already know my name. Also, can you explain what this True Longinus is? You sound as if it's some big shot. Sao Sao gazed at him arrogantly now. It seems that he had a lot to teach this boy after he accepted to be part of his little organization. Do you know about the sacred gears? I can swear I heard that word before somewhere, Naruto mumbled, scratching the back of his head. Sao Sao frowned. They are the special artifacts created by God. All have some powerful or unique ability, specific to it. There are also Longinus class sacred gears, but they are few, and so begins his long explanation. After 15 minutes Sao Sao finished, and I have the strongest of them all, the one and only, the Holy Spear, True Longinus. Ignoring the pride in his voice, Naruto stood up. Thank you for explaining all this to me, Kao. I will try to remember all that, but no promises. Sao Sao scowled. It's Sao, not Kao, and where are you going? I am not done talking yet. Naruto turned and stared at him. Then talk. I don't have whole night to spare, ya know. Disrespectful brat. Sao Sao thought but didn't voice it out. He needed to stay calm and convince him peacefully. If the boy still declined his generous offer, then he will have no choice but to make him understand with force. You know about the biblical and other factions in the world, right? At Naruto's nod he continued, what do you think about current devil system? I want to hear your personal opinion. Personal opinion, huh? Naruto started, rubbing his cheek lazily. Sooner or later it will collapse, simple as that. Do you know how some devils turn us humans and some other species to do their bidding? Against our will no less. Yeah, I know that, Naruto replied with a frown, remembering those devils he had met in the woods months ago. Still you roam around freely without a care in the world? Cao questioned. The blonde rubbed the back of his head with a grin on his face. Well, I can evade anyone who comes after me, so no worries there. Cao narrowed his eyes. Yet I found you easily, don't be foolish, you won't be able to protect yourself if devils or any other faction sets their eyes on you, he stated, crossing his arms over his chest. Naruto yawned. So what you want me to do? Stay at home or go in hiding? Cao smirked at his question. None. I want you to join me in my little group dedicated to protecting humans. You are a human, aren't you? You have the power to do so as well as the responsibility to help your kind, he boasted passionately. Naruto inwardly sighed. He really didn't want to get involved in all this useless supernatural stuff. He also wondered if he could be called a human here. Sure, he was human in his home world, but here he could very well be described as an alien. Humans here failed to evolve. Old man Hagoromo and chakra was the catalyst for his race's evolution in the shinobi world, but no one bothered with the humans here. So he could be called an evolved human here. No thank you, man, I am good on my own. Cao frowned at his answer. Are you sure? Don't you want to protect humans and humanity against these evil beings who use us as their tools? Naruto just stared at the man, giving him a questioning look. Cao stared back with his eyes narrowing ever so slightly. The lockdown continued for more than a minute before the blonde spoke. Okay, I'll join your little group. Cao smiled victoriously, clearly happy to get a new member for his group, but on one condition, Naruto added. Looking at him curiously, the wielder of the true Longinus inquired, and what is that? I am on a summer break. All you have to do is catch me again like this and you'll have me in your group, responded the shinobi with a challenging smirk. Cao scoffed arrogantly after hearing his demand. It would be a child's play for me, Uzumaki. Naruto just smiled at him softly. All right, then it's decided. If you failed to do so I would be left alone, never to be bothered again. Cao scoffed once again at Naruto's demand, like a brat could evade him? Deal, he agreed. Kokebiel should learn to keep his mouth shut, don't you think? There was no change in Cao's facial expression upon hearing that name. What made you think it was Kokebiel? Cao asked. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Just a hunch, he replied. Your hunch is wrong then, Uzumaki. I'll tell you the name after winning this little challenge of yours, the black-haired man commented and began to walk away. Good luck, was Naruto's short reply. Keep it, you will need it more than me, the man spoke back with a smirk. Naruto watched him go and his grin vanished, his expression now deadly serious. He sensed Cao was lying about Kokebiel. It seems he needs to speak to Azazel about upholding his end of the bargain and keep his underlings in check as promised. Underworld. Gremory Castle. Sirzex smiled as he watched his little sister arrive at the gates accompanied by her peerage members. He had been anxiously waiting for her arrival since this morning. His parents along with his wife and little boy were already present there to welcome her home. It was times like this that makes him realize the real worth of the civil war he had fought in all those centuries ago. He always wanted to give a peaceful and bright future to the next generations to come, unlike the one he and his friends grew up in. A childhood filled with bloodshed and war. Those were the dark days for him. Many of his friends and comrades died in that war. There were times when he was very close to giving up, but there was always this one person who stood behind him, comforted him and continued to provide him with the courage he needed in the battles he had to face. His friend, subordinate, lover and now wife, Ilona Gremory. Do you want anything, Lord Lucifer? He heard Grayfia say and turned to find her standing behind him. The former Gremory was a little shocked seeing her slightly red eyes. It was like she had been crying over something. No thanks, Grayfia, are you all right? He asked with concern in his voice. Yes, her reply was instant and short. Sirzex frowned inwardly at his queen. She still didn't consider him a friend and won't tell him anything about what had been bothering her lately. Well, he tried his best to form a friendship with her, but she wants to keep their relationship strictly professional. For what reasons? He didn't know. Okay, Sirzex said slowly, you can have the rest of the day off. Also, can you please inform Searcher that I need him in my office, there is a mission suitable for him. The silver-haired woman just nodded her head and silently left the place. Sears waited for her to leave before adopting a happy smile on his face and briskly made his way towards his sister. Time to embarrass her a little, he thought inside his mind. You look well, Rias. I am glad to have you back among us, Zioticus said with a smile. Rias smiled. Me too, it's good to be back, I missed you all. But not more than me. A loud voice yelled and Rias found herself caught in a tight bear hug by Sears. Her face flushed as he started muttering how much he had missed her and how glad he was feeling at having her back, all the while rubbing his cheek with her affectionately. Stop it, Ni-sama. Sears let go of her and chuckled at her red face. You are looking so adorable right now, Ria-chan, the red Satan commented. Rias just flushed even more at this while the other members laughed heartedly at the scene. Stop embarrassing her, dear. Rias must be tired, so I think you should save all that you have planned for her for later, don't you think? Ilona spoke with a bright smile on her face. Sears pouted but nodded his head, agreeing with his wife. Rias let out a relieved sigh. At least she was safe from her childish and eccentric brother for now. Thank you, Ne-sama, the crimson-haired girl said, feeling really thankful to her. Welcome home, Rias Oba, Milikas said with a bow. Rias looked at her only nephew and let out a huff. I still remember what you did, Milikas. Uzumaki-san told me it was his and your doing back in the canteen, she said, her arms crossed over her chest. Milikas chuckled, but it was funny and Mr. Naruto asked for my help with that. I didn't know he was planning that, Oba-chan. Before Rias could say anything else, she found Ilona looking at her questioningly. What did he do, Rias, and who is this Naruto person? Rias scowled. Naruto Uzumaki is the first male student of Kuo and Milikas here helped him prank me when Ni-sama and others visited me on open day. Ilona raised a brow and looked at her son. Is he the one who inspired you to prank people for fun, Mil-chan? She asked sweetly, making him uncomfortable. Milikas knew lying now would only get him in more trouble with his mother, so he just nodded his head. Ilona smiled. I see, he seems like an interesting person. I suppose a meeting with him soon is in order. He isn't in Kuo town anymore, Lady Ilona, Akeno informed her big sister figure. Oh, and how come you know that? The Lucifer's wife questioned with a raised brow. Rias grinned evilly. Now was the time to embarrass her queen. Because stalking and keeping tabs on him is Akeno's new hobby. However, Akeno did not blush at this and stayed calm, much to her annoyance. What can I say, Rias? He's interesting, she responded, a hand resting on her cheek with a sly smile on her face. I remember him. Sears joined in on the conversation, but I sensed nothing from him, so I failed to see what is so interesting about the boy. Akeno nodded her head. As far as I know, he's just a normal human. He has no sacred gear or magical abilities. The thing that makes him interesting is his nature. He's different from the other humans I've met so far. Now her response made others raise their brows as well. It was not like Akeno to praise others like this. Well, I think you should all go to your rooms and rest for a bit. We can talk all we want at dinner, Venilana suggested. The others nodded their head and left, all except Ilona, who stared at Akeno as the veloid-eyed hybrid walked away. I should keep an eye on her. I don't think she's foolish enough to fall for a simple human, she thought with a frown. She had nothing against humans. In fact, she would have been happy for Akeno if she was indeed falling in love, but so far it looks like this Naruto Uzumaki was just a normal human. A devil she may be, but a cruel person she was not. One of them could easily turn him into a devil, but without any sacred gear and small reserves, he would just be an outcast in the underworld, like many of the other low-class devils. Ilona continued to watch Akeno until she disappeared around the corridor before leaving as well. Few days later, Naruto found himself standing in front of an old-looking cave with a serious look on his face. After contemplating for a few seconds, he did a single hand seal and used a futon jutsu to cut the several vines and branches that covered the small entrance. I don't think you should be here. Naruto chose to ignore his partner and friend this time. Closing his eyes for a split second, he went into his basic sage mode. Doing so brought a scowl to his face, something that became a habit of his nowadays whenever he activates his sage mode. The nature energy here was corrupted by the actions of beings that inhabit this world. It was so corrupted and full of hatred that it could drive a weak-willed man to insanity. Though it wasn't something he couldn't control, he smirked slightly. Dealing with Kurama trying to take over his body in his younger days has its perks after all. I heard that, Kurama grumbled inside his mind. He was once again ignored by the blonde who was busy examining the ancient markings carved into the stone. Grr, Naruto sighed. Okay, now stop growling at me, Kurama. What's the problem in checking this? It's not like it will get us in any trouble. As if on cue, A large magic circle flared to life underneath him before he found himself trapped in a golden cage with several chains wrapped around him. You just have to open your big mouth, Kurama said dryly. Naruto pouted like a child but didn't say anything. You know I didn't expect that you would be a spy, not after you helped my little Kuno, Uzumaki-san, Yusaka spoke in a firm voice. You are not going to believe me now, are you? Naruto frowned when the fox Yukai just shook her head. Now tell me what you were doing here, Yusaka demanded. Just come clean with her, Kurama advised. Naruto frowned. Look, I just wanted to see the cause of concentrated energy in there, that's all. Lie. A simple human like you should be able to sense ley lines, she stated as a matter of fact before her eyes turned sharp, unless it was another lie of yours and you are not as simple as you claim to be. The blonde sighed. He could avoid all this by just simply teleporting away, but it won't be a good idea. Yes, I am not normal by any stretch of the imagination, I am a sage. Yusaka's eyes widened at what she heard. I see, but it still doesn't excuse you to sneak in here. Naruto frowned and took a deep breath. Curiosity really kills the cat, it seems, he thought dryly. Nothing I say can make you believe me, so is there any way to prove that I bear no ill intentions towards you or your people? I was just curious. Yusaka just continued to stare at him for what seems like hours before a smirk found its way onto her face. Actually there is, the Uzumaki smiled, there is. What is it then? Don't keep me in suspense now. The woman just smiled and took out something from her robes. Naruto paled seeing what was in her hands. Don't tell me to. Oh, but you lied to us, and oh yeah, but you also hide the fact that you were a Yukai, so you are not clean either, the blonde shinobi retorted. I have a hunch you knew that already. Yusaka smiled when he shut his mouth. Naruto began to move back when she began her stride towards him, but the ropes kept him in place. Ha 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 ha, I am so going to enjoy this, the huge fox in his gut laughed. 10 days later, Kurama grumbled as he watched Naruto playing hide-seek with the little fox brat in the garden. Honestly, this wasn't what he had in mind when that woman took out a whip from her robes. He thought she was going to deliver punishment to his partner, but all she did was strike him with it and sealed his energy inside his body. The seal was strong, Kurama could tell, but it wasn't strong enough to contain his or Naruto's chakra. He is enjoying his stay here, isn't he? Gayuki commented solemnly. Kurama stared at his brother from the corner of his eyes. Yes, he is. He could have left at any moment, but he chose not to. The other tailed beasts were also present there. Even Isobu was awake for once in his life instead of napping away. He seems happy. Matabi voiced out her thoughts. He is truly happy and not faking it like other times. Kurama remained silent, observing his friend from inside the seal. Naruto was getting attached to the child and to some extent people in this world, something he stopped doing for a very long time. Even in his last days in elemental nations, he would move on to a new place whenever he felt himself getting attached to people there. Thanks for watching.